Okay. Hey, it's your girl, Nicole, and welcome to another episode of the Risers Hub podcast. I'm always happy when you're here learning about wellness and life with me. Today, I want to talk about somatic healing of the body and how it plays a significant part in your day to day wellness journey. As there are different levels of stress, and here at the Risers Hub, I, along with various guests and resources, help you navigate through the good and bad stresses. But how does stress really affect the body? We hear about heart disease, high blood pressure, stroke, and weight gain, digestive issues, headaches, etc., etc. How can we prevent our bodies, our very foundation, to conquer these stresses? As the body is related to the mind and the spirit as well. So today, I want to introduce you to Grace Catherine Mickel, holistic and somatic psychotherapist. Grace has a master's of art in counseling psychology with an emphasis on holistic studies. She specializes in inclusive and diverse services such as EMDR, somatic and holistic healing, internal family system healing, as well as couples therapy. Grace is a seeker of peace, and when you are in her presence, you can definitely feel it. You can see the peace that she demands in her life. So, welcome, Miss Grace Mickel.
Thank you. Oh, that was a beautiful introduction. I appreciate all of that. And just to add, I am considered to be an associate licensed psychotherapist just for correction and liability purposes. So I am still under supervision of three wonderful supervisors. And I am almost done with my associateship hours. It really doesn't change anything. I still see clients regular basis and all that good stuff. So
That's
just want to
fantastic. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for clearing that up. One thing that I have learned about you over the short times I've been around you is that you don't engage in drama. I can see the peace that you inhibit, and you are definitely the beat of your own drum. You are a very centered young woman. What got you there? How do you continue to navigate in that space? And am I right to say this aligns not just with who you are, but with your practice as a holistic psychotherapist?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Ultimately, I would say a lot of mess ups in life and a lot of learning got me to where I am. I think during the COVID pandemic, I really just honed in and made a choice of what I wanted to do with life. I think that was a very fearful time for a lot of people. And I turned that fear into some sort of motivation. I lost a lot of weight. I became a vegan, plant-based, holistic. I just dove into the world of psychology. And through that, I mean, I worked in community mental health during the pandemic. That was extremely eye-opening. And alongside doing that, I also started my master's program, which I mean, to be honest, I think a lot of family stuff led me in that direction. Be the healer of the family almost. I learned not to do that now. I've taken a lot of steps back. But yeah, I think honestly, the pandemic just really motivated me to make some sort of change.
That's fantastic. And so you said you lost a lot of weight. Like, where were you when you were at your highest weight, and then where were you at your lowest weight? And today we're going to be talking about somatic healing. How did that play a role in the weight loss?
Yeah, absolutely. To be quite honest, I just dropped a lot of like, I don't know, like everything, like just everything that our society tells us is like what you're supposed to do, like the binge drinking culture, the eating different types of fast foods and things like that. Like I just dropped all of that. I dropped a lot of socialization and I just went inwards with that. So it looked like a lot of just hanging out at the beach, staying in nature, really just honing in on how the earth can really contribute to restoring. Walking, running, yoga became something that is really healing now and was healing back then as well. So that's something I'm also working on, and I'm almost done with my 200-hour yoga session. So
Wow.
that's been a big part as well.
It's interesting that you said that you spent a lot of time in nature because I always think that nature is like my second church. And If I can't make it to church on Sunday, I'm going to head out to nature and do my praying, my meditation, whatever it is. And especially we're both from California and living in California for so long, I know the last 3 years I was there, I really got in tune with the ocean. And I made sure that I touched that ocean at least 4 times a week because you were living right next to it. And it just reminds you of the vastness of this world and how we're just a very small part of it. And we both moved to the East Coast. And so now for me, it's the trails. That's where the leaf comes from with the Risers Hub is just because we're always growing and evolving and changing. And when you have that connection with nature, it does help in every aspect of your life. I'm going to go back to somatic healing. I want to know how you got started in that. And then like when you're working with a client, like what direction do you go in that type of therapy?
Yeah, so I think the yoga piece really helped me more tune into the awareness of my body. So started with meditation part of yoga and like in the body scan, and then the conscious breathing is a part of that as well. So really, again, that inward going of, okay, what am I feeling? What emotions are coming up? And almost like getting creative with it those too, like using colors and different sorts of textures with what, where is this emotion in my body? Does it have some sort of color or texture? Is it something that I feel that it's familiar? Is it unfamiliar? I think that there is so many different sort of like somatic practices, like sequencing different emotions out of the body. So taking that, maybe I feel some sort of like repression in my heart space, and it just feels like really shallow and dull. And it's like, I don't know, like a gray cloud or something like that. Taking that and staying with that for a moment, right? When you're, again, some of the somatic practices that I use are more closing your eyes, staying in tune, meditation, and staying with that, and then bringing that space up with clearing it through conscious breathing and like allowing that seeing that move out. Maybe it like moves through your mouth, or maybe it comes down out of your arm, out of your arm. So lots of different sorts of inwards practices. Something that I'm gently moving toward is somatic dance. Because dancing is such a fantastic way of moving things out of the body. And do I practice that religiously in where I work right now and with the clients that I'm with? Not specifically. It's something that I'm starting to cultivate a little bit more because there's a comfortability level to dancing with somebody you really don't know and feel that feeling and dance it out. So we're getting there though. And I'm pretty excited about that as well.
That's fantastic. So I want to talk about the conscious breathing and being in tune with your body. So what would be a couple of steps for someone who's out there listening? Like, okay, what does she mean by conscious breathing and how can I start with that? And then we'll move into getting in tune with your body.
Yeah, conscious breathing. So a lot of what I practice just with clients in the everyday practice. So typically, if it's not comfortable to close your eyes, that's what I encourage, just so there's no visual distractors. But if somebody needs to set their day home, totally fine. And all you're really allowing is for yourself relax. You just want to relax. And as you start to really pay attention to the inhale, and then also pay attention to the exhale, on those exhales, you are releasing something. And I encourage you to really tap in on them, inhaling for 3 to 5 seconds. Maybe I hold the breath for 2 seconds. And then I'm gently letting go, right? You want the exhale to usually be through your mouth, and you also want the exhale to be longer than the inhale was. Because that exhale is where that activation of the parasympathetic nervous system happens. And that's what we want to engage. The parasympathetic nervous system is our rest and digest. And that's what will get us back to a state of relaxation.
That's great. And then, so the way I'm hearing it is, first of all, when you first start, I would say get into a quiet place or a quiet space if you can. And then you're going to just relax and release and let go, just your whole body. And then you're going to inhale slowly and you're going to exhale with a longer exhale. And The way I look at it is when you're inhaling, inhale positive thoughts and then exhale the negative thoughts. And that will probably make that excelling a lot better and a lot longer because we have a lot more negative, at least in our heads, than we do positive.
I love that. That's really good. That is so
So, also, too, you talked about getting in tune with your body. And where would you start with that? Because a lot of times we're all so busy. Like you said, this world that we live in keeps us stressed, um, keeps us working, gives us the idea that we have to go. So, how can you tell the average person who's just out there, like living their life, and they're telling you, like, I don't have time to slow down. I have to do this and this. How can they get more in tune with their bodies?
I really think there's so much to go into with that question because on a nervous system level, we're probably just really activated. Maybe not even maybe a lot of us are in survival, and that even has to do with childhood trauma or just everyday little teeth, big teeth, little teeth being somewhat of a small trauma, kids maybe sexual abuse, domestic violence, sorts of incest, things like that. So when I do talk about somatic therapy, I try not to generalize that specifically because accessing the body by yourself may not be a comfortable space to do it in. So this okay, let me review some of these practices and maybe I need to seek some sort of counseling for some of this, right? Because if something comes up, you probably need to talk to somebody or work with some sort of somatically trained therapist or practitioner to channel out that sorts of that energy and things like that. So just be apprehensive with that. But if you are in the everyday, okay, I'm just focusing on my daily stress today. Some sort of somatic practice could I really tone down to yoga as such a beautiful practice. It could look like going to a yoga class. Maybe at the end dates, we're moving away from the vinyasa and the exercise culture of yoga. Let's slow it down, right? Let's bring the breathing in here. Let's channel out whatever sort of stuff energy you're in, sort of pain or sensation in the body with that. Or maybe you turn on your favorite song or music that has bilateral stimulation. There's lots of beautiful stuff on YouTube that you can find BLS, bilateral stimulation. You just gently move that too, right? Maybe you grab a journal and pen or pencil, whatever, or you're just coloring and you're just like moving through that too. Like how I feel, I pay attention to my body. Maybe I need to write down some words. Maybe this pain that I have in my left has something to say, right? So there's lots of different practices that you can play with trying to do that. It's genuinely just about slowing down and paying attention.
It really is. I know when I moved here about a year ago, and then I would say 7 or 8 months into it, I was so stressed being in a new environment, dealing with new people, being on a new job, doing all this newness that I wanted so bad. And I was like, I would say in probably the best shape of my older life. And but my feet and my hands and my arms were hurting every single morning I was waking up. And I couldn't figure out why because I was drinking the smoothies and exercising and running and doing all the stretching, even doing hot yoga. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And then I decided, let me, first of all, go to the doctor, see what's going on. And then once I got to the doctor, she was like, "You're stressed." And I was so like happy that it wasn't like, let me give you this pill to take care of it. She sat and she listened to me and she heard like the things that were triggering me as I was talking. And she's the reason why your hands and your arms are hurting. She goes, I don't think it's like arthritis already. I think the fact is that you're stressed. And as soon as I realized that, it started changing my practices throughout each day and slowing myself down. And like you said, like doing the meditation and being more conscious of what's going on, it was slowly going away. And once I removed myself from an environment that was toxic, it changed everything like within 2 weeks. So I think that's why I really want to talk about the somatic healing. And then also too, You do somatic healing, but you also have this whole holistic way of approaching psychotherapy as well. So I would like for you to touch base on that because I really love what you said before about it's the body, mind, and soul connection. And that's what I believe in when it comes to wellness, to the wellness journey and life coaching.
Yeah, treating the whole body. So I think that learning more about Eastern medicine and Eastern practices, that's what more or less led me to, okay, our Western culture, our Western society, our Western health system. I don't really know if we can call it a health system because
It's a system.
I'm all right because I'm super happy that you got that sort of feedback when you did see some sort of practitioner and they didn't hand you a pill. They were able to acknowledge, right, and maybe they even gave you a little bit more to work. But in as far as that, I think that is a part of acknowledging the whole body, right? With Eastern practices following that, okay, we have our body, we've got lots of stuff going on in the body. We also have the mind. So from those types of perspectives, I can't say that I moved into some sort of treatment plan with clients specifically. I think that's something that I'm actually still working on. It's like, how are we dressing your body? How are we dressing? So I think with the body, I offer a lot of different like somatic practices, different sorts of supplements and things like that I've researched that are great for not just the body, but also the mind. There's like supplements for mental health. I have that. Did some work with that. I love that. But as far as like connecting everything, I don't know. It's like layer by layer. Right? So it's like even with the trauma work, and I do heavily love trauma work, and a lot of clients that do come to see me, we end up doing EMDR, EMDR, I'm processing. So I think again, that Western use where it was developed in the Western world, but I do think that there is a lot to EMDR on the surface of let's desensitize you so we can actually talk about this trauma and talk about the loss and the wounding of the inner child and dealing with it, right? Um, and then that soul level, I think that is another piece. It's just what really sparks your interest, where it gives you that light. Like, are you in a job that's working for you? Like, maybe you need a really big shift in life. And it's scary. I think coming to psychotherapy, even not to work people off, but to encourage them that hey, you want to go to do the inner work that you need. Find yourself through that, right? Find that self realization because it's possible. You just have to really be oriented to do the work. And when you find a strong therapist, somebody that's going to guide you and has all of these beautiful modalities, you're really going to get a lot out.
Yeah, it's funny when you said being scared. I think a lot of us, it's like looking in the mirror and seeing all of the things that you don't wanna see, and that's what you mean by being scared, but if you do the work and you put the time in and you understand that it is part of the process, that process that's in the middle of everything, if you understand that the process is there to help you and teach you and guide you to a better self, focus on the better self, and it won't be so scary going through the middle part, because let me tell you, if you take out the time to do the work, no matter what it is that you've gone through, to get to that other side feels so, so good. So, Grace, can you please talk a little bit more about EMDR and what it stands for? Eye movement desensitizing and reprocessing. It's part of a psychotherapy technique that helps people heal from trauma. So, give us a little bit more information about that.
Yeah, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So I think it's a fabulous modality. You do have to have some sort of training as a clinician to be able to practice with clients, but it is an 8-phase model. It works linearly in that 8 phases. When you're working with advanced trauma and different sorts of like developmental trauma or pre-verbal trauma, things might look a little different with that 8-phase model, but that is still like the beautiful structure. So I can explain a little bit about it. Like in the first phase, you're typically just talking about where you want to start. there is this other piece of EMDRs where you don't actually have to talk through the trauma. And so for some people, I think that's really nice, where you don't have to go and it's not a piece of talk therapy where you're just like, okay, I'm hitting on every single piece and detail of this childhood trauma that happened. You don't have to do that, right? You just have to hold this image in your mind's eye and use these beautiful pieces of bilateral stimulation. It got pretty fancy, I would say. It really started with, again, the acronym I just made. It started with this like finger wagging back and forth. And this is how you would exercise. But now it developed into bilateral stimulation, key process that you want. So other ways that you find bilateral stimulation on top of that I just are the finger wagging is you can tap your chest with the butterfly tapping, you can tap your thigh. There's different sorts of sounds that you can use, different sorts of things on your screen, or even they use this light therapy for desensitization. It gets pretty interesting. I don't have any sort of specific resource for EMDR, but there are a lot of work. I would encourage a client to practice with a practitioner before they try to do it on their own. But there is a lot of information out there that is quite like, oh, technically something you could do on your own. Yeah. And also, what sorts of stuff is going to come up? Do you need somebody to hold space for it? So it's a pretty structured model with desensitizing to information, using that different resources. Some of that somatic stuff starts to come in, deep breathing, thinking about different sorts of like containers and people and support people we bring in. Just through like different like guided visuals and stuff like that. And then you're really focusing on like fleshing out any sort of other sensation and integrating the positive cognition in a positive way. That's a really general piece of it. I think EMDR is pretty versatile. So depression, PTSD, anxiety, phobia, panic. There's just really a long list of how it can work, who can work. Yeah.
I think it's
Right.
effective too because not only are you talking through it, but like you said, you're patting yourself. You're doing the butterfly pats. You're engaging in a way where you can remember the positive that you're getting out of it as opposed to just talking. 'Cause it's just so integrated with you and your counselor. Would you be comfortable enough to talk about your choice in psychotherapy? There was a reason why you went into psychotherapy, and you don't have to get too deep or anything, but maybe on a surface, what really led you to it and where do you want to take it?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. What guided me to psychotherapy? I think my own mental health struggles in growing up. I grew up specifically 2 hours east of San Diego. So San Diego was always like second home. I was born there, but I wasn't specifically raised in San Diego. I was raised in a very agricultural Hispanic white community. And some of mental health wasn't something that you talk about. So health wasn't ever acknowledged there. My parents divorced when I was 11-ish, I think, 12, 11. That was the start of it, right? Piece by piece. And I grew up basically in a single mother parent home. And I didn't get the mental health support that I needed as a teen after my parents divorced. So
Mhm.
going into undergrad and experiencing that, I got my undergraduate in public health, which was very interesting. I think where the therapy piece comes in was just, yeah, those, unhealed parts of me where I was stuck. And this is a little bit of the IFS, the Internal Family Systems language, is like different parts of me were stuck at smaller ages where I didn't get the support that I needed growing up and where I was raised and all of that stuff. So some of that started to show up in undergrad experience specifically. And I think I had eventually left the relationship and I was just like, I have to change. I don't really like the person I am. Right? Like I'm very far from who I thought I was going to be or where I thought I was. So I think I really turned inward really starting January of 2020, right before the pandemic hit. I started to really hone in, do all the great stuff for myself. And then I started to learn more about health stuff. I started really with like the stuff, like cleaning out my body, detoxing, things like that. But it was really honestly the Black Lives Matter movement that propelled me to when all of George George Floyd's name, rest in peace, like his all of that movement in June of 2020 just really pushed me. I was just like, okay, I am gonna go become a psychotherapist. These people have all of their information wrong. I don't know where they're operating from. It doesn't make any sense. Why are cops killing people of color in this country? It didn't make any sense to me. I was so angry. So I was like, okay, I started to look into master's program. Didn't get into the first one of my choice. Then I got into John F. Kennedy School of Psychology. And they still happen affiliated with National University now. And then I got into community mental health, where I really felt like, okay, I'm like doing really hard work. I'm in crisis management. I'm working on the streets with clients. I'm helping them with case management and doing a lot of suicidality sorts of assessments and, you know, really stopping people from hurting themselves. So that was a piece of where I started. I think honestly it's changed over the years. Now I'm okay. How much of myself do I want to put into the system? Because it does pretty well. It really does. And I think it was a great place for me to start. And I do have plans to go back and have a foot in the door always. I just don't know what it looks like at this point. I would like to build a private practice. I would like to really hone in on the detail and all of this other good stuff and learn how I can deliver that to your community mental health and create programs for others that really need that at a low cost and trying to get Medi-Cal and Medicare to pay for that great stuff. Because okay, if a person in private practice will pay like $100 to $250 for a session with some really great, beautiful sorts of modalities, then that should be delivered to everybody. I just have that mentality. There's a part of me that would eventually like to work in, um, I don't know, work with police departments and things like that too. I think there was an experience recently with my brother who's currently incarcerated. I don't talk about this. I haven't publicly spoke about this, but he's been incarcerated since in February of 2023. He has a mental health disorder. He had a mental health disorder, pretty significant, very severe for the last 5 years. And the area where I'm from, they're not very knowledgeable. And my brother eventually assaulted a police officer when it was supposed to be a safety assessment and try to get him help. So he's currently incarcerated still, and it's been an ongoing process. But yeah, he's got a diagnosis of schizoaffective bipolar type. He's pretty paranoid. He's been very paranoid for the last 5 years. And yeah, I do have a desire to work with cops that don't know how to do any sort of reality test or safety assessment with individuals. I am very, very thankful that my brother wasn't shot and killed because I think that could have really happened to him very easily when this incident took place in February 2023. So the system is system's broken in a lot of ways. But I also have to guess the state of California, we're developing a lot of mental health programs in their jail systems as well. That is something that is happening. It so happens to be the county where he's in. That the Imperial County is just not very developed.
First of all, I'm really sorry that happened to your brother, and I feel exactly where you are right now with that. And it sounds to me like your path is already written. You're going to work from the inside out because there are going to be many more of your brothers out there, and they will not be as lucky to just be incarcerated. And that sins alone sounded crazy. He, like you said, he wasn't shot, he wasn't killed. And there is a mental health crisis, and no one wants to talk about it, especially in small areas and towns that both you and I have come from in the past. And even my generation, we don't like talking about it. So I commend the fact that you have a passion for this. And I commend the fact that you're very young and you have a huge path ahead of you. And I'm just so grateful that you came on here and you shared that story with us and you shared your expertise. And I can't wait to talk to you again, Grace.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Remember, this podcast is meant for both education and entertainment purposes only. I am not a licensed therapist, so it's crucial to consult your physician, psychotherapist, or qualified health professionals for personalized advice. Until next time, take care. Hey, if you're enjoying this podcast, tell your friends to be my friends, and we can be friends. Hey, we can do this every week. Or just tell them to subscribe, like, and share. Bye.